Hello everybody, it's Secondhand Dan coming to you from Homosassa, Florida land. What's up today is I thought I'd do a disassembly video. Ever wonder what's inside a 2-cycle weed whacker? So I'm going to take one of those apart. Some of you may already know what's inside and some of you probably have no idea, but let's take it apart just for the heck of it then. It's a beautiful day down here in Florida. I say down here because I'm from up north, so I'm here in central Florida. I'm going to go get this weed whacker. It's over here behind my shed. You can see the skies are kind of bluish gray in some areas. We've had some rain the past couple days. There's some blue over there, but it's still like about 80 degrees right now. Here like 4 o'clock. So, man, I bought some stuff off of and a riding mower off of. Said, here, you can have this, and he gave me weed whackers. 2 of them, actually. One was kind of sort of complete, so I just trucked it up to the auction. The other had the, the breakaway shaft, and it didn't have the lower section, so I thought, okay, well, it's not going to get anything for it at the auction, but maybe I can make a video about it. So there it is back here. It's the green machine. That looks like Ryobi green. Is it? I'm not seeing the any. Oh, there it is. Ryobi. Okay, it's a Ryobi, and I think it pulls through. Yeah, there it goes. It's probably getting water inside from laying out here for a couple of weeks now, but like I say, I have no reason to put any big value on this thing other than just for entertainment's sake. And for entertainment's sake, we're going to take it apart. So we are going to need some tools. A Torx bit right there. So that's probably going to be the first thing is Torx bits. All right, hold on. Now walk with me to the toolbox. Chain the old door open. Otherwise it'll blow closed. And plus I'm letting some of the hot air out of the place. My Torx bits. Ah, here we go. So those look like they're 3/8 drive. Oh wait, there's a combination. 3/8, you can see the brackets holding them on, and all of a sudden they get smaller, so they must be 3/8 and 1/4 inch drive. So I suspect I'm going to end up needing a 1/4 inch ratchet on that. There's a 1/4 inch ratchet, and maybe a extension in a 1/4 inch. Extensions, there's a 1/4 inch extension. Okay. Yeah, good old Florida isn't going to have me to kick around much longer. I'll be heading back up north in about just a little over 2 weeks. Let me set you up on the tripod. There's my tripod. It's definitely old school. Aluminum castings, but it's got a new adapter I put on the top. I don't give this thing a whole lot of respect. I just let it lay outside. Tripods, you see them constantly at yard sales. So go ahead and mount the phone up in this bracket here. And that means I'll have to switch the camera to the other direction now. Well, that doesn't necessarily mean that, because the lens is still, but I like to see myself in the doing a lot of this stuff, so focus in on the project at hand. Put a little tilt on it, Maybe get you in a little closer. Okay, so I can see why, one reason why this thing may have been put out to pasture. Oh, there it is. The primer bulb right there. It's got a hole in it. And a lot of these older machines definitely needed you to pump that primer bulb vigorously in order to get it fuel into the system, and then you would start it. I hear tell now lawnmowers, of course they did away with primer bulb on them. Now a lot of them don't even have I think the variable speed. It's just pull it and trust it's at the right speed. All right, well, what size torque? Just pulling one off that I think is about right. And am I correct? Yes, I got it correct the first time. It is a TX25. So it looks like the first thing that's going to come off is the gas tank. At least that's the first bolt I'm taking out. Seems to be holding the gas tank down. Okay. Air cleaner cover. There is no air cleaner in this thing. I know my experience with these two-cycle tools, primer bulbs are a popular thing to go bad on it, whether it be a chainsaw or this weed whacker or anything else that's a two-cycle motor. Two-cycle means you mix gasoline and oil together and pour it into the gas tank. And most of the manufacturers have their ratios. A lot of them might be the same ratio from tool to tool, but it's a long time since I had to mix up anything. I mean, I don't have much of a weed problem down here, other than it grows across the lawn in general, not like up against the house. I guess I hired somebody, last year, and let him trim some weeds around here, and they were growing up against the side of the house there. And I've got skirting around the house, and he managed to put holes all through the skirting, all around the house. You think he would say, oops, my bad, after the first foot or two. No, he went like the whole distance around the house, poking holes through the skirting all the way. So, looks like I have to change up my Torx bit to something smaller. I took out 2 Torx bit screws. See, they got shoulders on them. And the gas tank's still attached. And it looks like it might be attached deeper down. So there's a Torx bit holding on the air cleaner, but the T25 evidently is too big. The air cleaner back plate. All right. So far the only thing I've gotten off is bolts. No. Here's a long one. And I believe that's going through the back plate for the air cleaner, and also is mounting the carburetor on. And I was saying there was one issue, of course, is the primer bulb rots and gets a hole in it. But another thing is, a lot of times they have these skinny little tubes. These tubes, a lot of times here, they'll dry rot. And sometimes they'll dry rot right up against the gas tank, or inside the gas tank. And they're a real pain to replace. But there's the carburetor. Small little thing. Okay. So like I said, so far the only thing that's come off is bolts. This carburetor, I took 2 bolts out of it. I don't see any more. There still seems to be, there we go. Just had to stick my tool in inside the carburetor's throat and lean it over, and it popped free. This is going to be one of the biggest gaskets I've ever seen on a 2-cycle. I guess it's also acting like, I don't know, like a heat shield. You can see it was a carburetor gasket in this area, but it really wasn't gasketing much else. So I assume it was some kind of shield. All right, well, the carburetor's still attached. I can take off this cable maybe. There we go. I got the throttle cable off. And there we go, carburetor in hand. I don't know if you can see, here we go. Carburetor closed. That's what's known as the butterfly inside. That's full throttle. And as you decrease it, you decrease the amount of airflow in there, which also decreases the amount of fuel, because more air coming in causes a bigger vacuum and it can suck more fuel in. Here, once again, is the primer bulb. And I found that when it's starting, even non-2-cycle, whether it be 4-stroke or 2-cycle, I press these things. It usually says at right times, press 3 times. I press that thing at least about 10 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, a dozen times or so. And that always seems to work. I've done that 3 times stuff. You pull it, blah, 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 blah. And then you do it 3 times again, blah, 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 blah. 3 times again, blah. I just find, pump it like 12 times, and it's usually good to go. All right, so we got a carburetor off. I've got the backing plate. It's got rubber hoses on it, and I'm just yanking away at it. Okay. Here's that huge gasket. That's the only gasketing surface is right there. And I'm not sure what that is. It looks like fuel comes in, travels across this plate, and comes back out the other line. So is that to warm it up? Let me see if I can get a screwdriver and separate that. I've never been a big lawnmower repairman. You know, over the years I've, tinkered here and there and gotten them running again, but I've never worked in a mower shop and chainsaw place, but I've held my own for the most part. Oh, it's opening up here. Okay. I think that was heat welded on there. You can see like a little zigzaggy pattern in there. I think that was from the heat weld. And there's 2 holes. I said one, it came in and traveled across and came back out that side. But there's also a passage into the carburetor venturi area. See how that's shaped like an airplane front of a jet engine's airplane engine? All right, I'm trying to BS my way through a portion of this, but some of it, I know what I'm talking about on some things, but all right, well, and there's a choke lever here. The idea of this is you restrict the airflow and just go with more fuel until it gets running. And that looks like it could be a fuel filter. It's awfully small. Smallest fuel filter I've ever seen, but it makes sense. It's a small, very small engine. All right. I think I might, okay, now I can go back to the bigger size and get the gas tank off all the way. The T25. The gas tank is off. Now listen to this. No, there's not rocks inside there. There is a fuel filter in there. It's like a stone. I don't know if ever you had an aquarium. You put an air stone to blow bubbles in your aquarium, so they'd come out and almost look like soda pop bubbles, rather than just stick a raw hose down there. You'd run it through the air stone in the aquarium. Well, this has got oh, there it is. That is the intake, and you see something's disconnected there. It shouldn't have just fallen out. It should still be internally connected to this line on the inside, but see how it just fell out. And this fell out of there too. So combinations of things falling out of your gas tank shows that something else was wrong. All right. Let's take off this large piece of plastic here. There's one right there I got to take apart. I think that's going to be the smaller size Torx again. I'm feeling a couple of raindrops hitting me. Well, I've already got the small size in there. All right, here we go. Got one here and one there that I have to take off. You know, it's my intention to get all the way down inside to the internals. Now, if a guy with a lawnmower shop probably could have resurrected this unit. But, you know, resurrecting it, you know, he'd have his time into it and a couple of parts. So, yeah, if you're doing it for a customer, that's profitable. But if you were saying, oh, let me go ahead and repair this thing and resell it. I mean, who wants to buy small two-cycle engines used? I mean, they're what, like $150 for the whole kit sometimes. You get the whacker and the warranty, and you know that it's not been used or abused, so it can't be a whole lot of money and repairing these things and selling them. But some people do it for the love. Now when you get into the bigger things like lawn tractors, you repair those and resell them, yeah, because you're talking a couple $100. And you may only have to throw $50 at it to get it up and running again. Okay, Phillips screws. This is held on with some Phillips screws down in there. Okay, I gotta get that screwdriver out. You know, the Phillips screw is named after the Earl of Phillip, just like the sandwich is named after the Earl of Sandwich. All right, I'm pulling your leg on that one about the Phillips screw, but the sandwich thing is true, though. There was an individual named Sandwich. But I forget, I'm not sure how the Phillips screw got its name. I know I read that, how it did get its name, but I forgot that. Now, you know, I'm into trivia, but you can't remember all the trivia. That's why it's trivial, because it wasn't important enough to remember it. I remember reading how the Phillips screw came out a long time ago, about, you know, shortly after the slotted screw, and Henry Ford wanted to go with the Phillips screw, but the guy that had the patent right on it, they couldn't come to terms. So Ford said, "The heck with it, we'll stick with slotted screws," in his earlier automobiles. All right, well, that fell off after taking off the 2 Phillips screws. Okay, this is a greasy little thing. It's a emission control information. Yeah. This engine meets U.S. EPA California emissions regulations for 2013. So that means this thing is 12 years old. Because 2023 and up to 2025, that's 12 years. All right, next thing to come off will be this unit here. There's screws all around it. Looks like an oil plug, typical oil cap. So that's probably a gearbox, which means it's probably going to make a mess. Okay. Unless it's already leaked out. No, there's oil in there. So let me find something to pour that into. I'm looking, I'm thinking, you know, make sure it ain't already got something just laying here in the yard. Be great if I had a bottle from when I filled up the car with oil. All right, well, we'll go with this for now. This was in the trash can. So come on, there we go. I'm going to say a couple tablespoons. Well, that's it for the most part. It was about 2 tablespoons. I can't even lay the bottle down because it ain't going to pour out while the bottle's laying on its side. I'm going to just put this plug back in. Let's go ahead and take off what I perceive to be the gearbox, where we convert the piston movement to the shaft movement. I should use some battery tools for this, but I don't have the perfect combination of battery operated tools right now. Right now I have some DeWalt 18 volt system, which I want to get away from. I mean, they've been good here with me in Florida for a while. I mean, they are dated. I'm surprised that people still pay money for them. I've seen 18 volt systems bring good money at the auction, so. But I want to get a 20 volt system. I got 20 volt DeWalt's up north, so I'd like to have 20 volt system down here too. I just couldn't at the time seemingly justify investing in 20 volt systems. A couple of times I've actually tried to buy some. Either most of the time I would try at an auction. I mean, I didn't bid high enough, or I wasn't standing there when it actually was time for it to be sold by the auctioneer. So I missed out on some 20 volt systems. But the longer you wait, the cheaper they become. But don't wait too long. Now they got a what is it? 12 volt system. I went back to the 12 volts. The batteries are actually smaller now, but they still make the 20, and I make a new 12. But here tell the 12 doesn't have the battery life as like the 20s do, but some people, they figure, just want a smaller, lighter tool. Like, come on guys, the 20 volts aren't that heavy. Oh, there's a black cat crossing my road here. Here. Not my cat. See him over there? There he goes. I mean, I appreciate cats to some degree, but not enough that I appreciate people with their stray cats, their feral cats, and they come and they pee on your property, and you better not leave your shed door open, or they're going to crawl inside when you're not there, and they'll piss in there, and then you got to put up with that stink. The only thing I can say is we haven't got a mouse problem around here, but I don't think we ever did. I was just going over in my mind the other day, all the wild animals I've ever seen that in their own habitat. So, not counting birds, because I've seen a lot of different strange birds, but yeah, throw a few birds in there. I mean, like, I've seen turkey. But when it comes to some of the mammals, I've seen, especially here in Florida, I've seen boar, or some people might just say wild pig. I've seen a coyote. One day I was looking out my window here. I said, "What's that scrawny, mangy dog trotting across my property?" I'm like, "Oh, that's a coyote." Okay, so I saw him once. I've seen manatees. We've gone on a boat ride, and the manatees are just, they don't move in fear. That you can boat right up to them, and they'll stick their nose up out of the water. I've seen fox. That was back up north. Deer, of course, I've seen deer. Now, I started thinking that the other day because we're driving down the road, and there was a cautionary sign suggesting that you didn't want to hit a bear if it walked out. So I said, well, I've never seen a bear in the wild. All right. That is the, I guess it's basically the crankcase. I was calling it the gearbox, but in some respects the crankcase is sort of a gearbox, but I still maybe pour out, I've still got some more oil sitting there up in the piston head. But this is the end of the crankshaft. The piston's up in there, and the crankshaft here. Oh, did I say the end of the crankshaft? That's not. That's the end of the. That's a piston rod, connecting rod. And I guess this here is a that tail on there. It's a splash lubrication oil. And there's a counterweight on the crankshaft, and that shaft goes directly down the center of this to get your weed whacker head going. All right, let me see if I can pour off some more of this oil. And a couple more tablespoons. There we go. Nice shot. So it's got a separate crankcase. A lot of your 2 cycles don't have a separate crankcase. I thought that the fuel was what kept everything lubricated. All right, well, what to do next? What to do next? This thing, I've seen like a total of 3 of them on here. And I think they're not so much filters, and maybe they're like one-way check valves to allow vacuum, but not blowback. I know I could be more educated on something like this, but I don't see the need right now to be that educated on something that I'm not going to be messing with, but possibly ever again. Who knows? This might be the last time I ever tear down into a 2-cycle for any reason. And I say today's reason is just for entertainment's sake and education, because I'm re-educating myself. Now, I've actually rebuilt a VW engine for a VW Beetle, Bug. Those are air-cooled. Those are 4-cycle. I rebuilt one of those. I was probably only about 20 at the time, and I'd been to automotive and diesel school, so I had a good handle on it, and I thought I knew what I was doing, but evidently I didn't know quite enough. It would have been nice if I had somebody had been there, done that, but I managed to go ahead and take a man's VW engine out of his vehicle, take it to my home, you know, split it, take all the pistons out, put new rings, new rod bearings in it, and I don't think it ever ran right after that, because of my lack of experiences. I forget what the issue was, whether it wouldn't stay running or was low on oil pressure. I don't know. Needless to say, I didn't get paid for that job, so I think he just had to give it to somebody else to redo it. But at least I did all the dirty work, you know. I cleaned that engine up, and he had the new parts, so he didn't have to buy the parts again. But I've also replaced bearings on my Pinto. Never had any problem. I replaced camshafts on my Pinto. Another heat shield. But my chosen profession right now seems to be dealing in secondhand merchandise, buying and reselling it. Hence my handle, Secondhand Dan. So that's why I own a second-hand store. I buy and sell on eBay and Marketplace. So I did work in a transmission shop for 5 years. I worked in the machine shop of the transmission shop, rebuilding torque converters. And I did also take the transmissions out of the cars and put the new ones back in. I never really got into rebuilding transmissions there. I think I rebuilt one transmission, and there again, lack of experience. I think I left out one set of needle bearings. So that vehicle was back after a month. Oh well. So I said I worked there for 5 years, and then I ended up doing handyman stuff. I didn't like the handyman stuff so much. I mean, I like the work, but the going to somebody's house to install something or upgrade something, you know, it seemed like you always were searching for the right tool. You didn't have it with you, even though you bought a box full of tools. Then you'd have to go back home, or you'd have to go out and actually buy the tool. And the same thing with parts and supplies. You know, you thought, oh, I've got everything I need here to do the job as far as parts, and you know, an hour into it, you're like, oh man, I need this part. So you'd have to stop and go off to the store and get another part. So that part wasn't fun. I still do all my own home repairs. I think I found another reason why this thing could have been retired a little early. The coil wire has got a nice big crack in it right there. I mean, the plug wire, coil wire, is coming off a coil. It goes to the plug. But down close to its base, it's split. Okay. I guess I can take this off. And that's probably a valve cover. Wrong side. If you wonder what I'm going to do with this mess when I'm done with it, I plan on making a run to the scrap yard. I've been saving aluminum since I've been down here, and so I'll take whatever pieces of ferrous metal I have also. I already made one trip with the ferrous steel. You know, ferrous means anything a magnet sticks to. Non-ferrous metals are your brass and your aluminum and your copper. All right, I said that was a valve cover or slash camshaft cover. There's the camshaft right here, and these are your rockers. And there is the valves. Let's try and get you right down underneath there. All right, well, I'm gonna go ahead and take off the rockers. Rockers are like seesaws on your camshaft. Up, down, up, down, up, down. They open the exhaust, close the exhaust. Open the intake, close the intake. So it doesn't look like it had any issue up in there. I don't see any wear pattern. I do see nuts, what are they, like 10 millimeter? So if we're going to take those off, got to switch up the sockets. Here we go. Perfect. So this is a one-cylinder motor. So you need an intake and an exhaust valve. Well, you know what? I've been doing. Is this a 4-cycle? Yeah, it's a 4-cycle. Duh. I'm starting to think, well, 2 cycles, you don't have the valves, because when the piston comes up, it exposes holes in the cylinder wall to allow the fuel mixture to come in. This is a 4-cycle. Boy, do I look stupid. All right. This is what you do when you go unrehearsed or uninformed. Because probably a lot of you were screaming at me, "It's not a 2-cycle! What are you talking about? Hey, not..." All right, well, I'm sorry. They do. It's unusual that to come across a 4-cycle. I don't buy new yard tools. And the only ones I've ever dealt with, I always had to mix oil and gas, which meant they were 2-cycle. But I know especially the people in California are the ones saying, well, 2-cycle is too dirty. Hence, the rest of the country gets into California and says, well, it's only a matter of time, so we should make a 2-cycle mandatory. I remember when 2-cycle dirt bikes were a thing. Not so much anymore. 2-cycle boat motors, not so much anymore. All right, well, this is kind of cool. It has a belt on it that drives the camshaft, which means the other end of that belt is down on the crankshaft. And that's the way my Pintos used to operate. The lower crankshaft, the belt would come all the way up and drive the camshaft. And what happens if that belt breaks, your cam lobes get out of time with the piston, and they can send the valves down too soon, out of sync, and the piston will come up and hit the valves and bend the piston will bend the valves. And I had that happen once, and it fractured the cylinder wall. And fortunately, I think I had another motor. I was good at swapping up Pinto motors. It was the early year Pintos, the 71, 2, 3. When they went to 74, they changed their motor, and I wasn't a big fan of the motors that they changed it up to. All right, well, trying to get into the heart of the beast here. I'm still feeling stupid over calling it a 2-cycle when it was right there in front of my face all the time. 4-cycle. Well, I hope either way you're amused, and I hope the people who spotted that it was a 4-cycle way back in the beginning didn't leave me. So this guy don't know what he's doing. Well, like I said, I'm not a lawnmower repairman. I'm just trying to have a little bit of fun. Now, taking out these 2 bolts, and I'm not even sure what they're holding on, but they're going through the either side of the, for better lack of term, the intake manifold. The carburetor was bolted to this thing, And now there's 2 bolts bolting this thing to the engine. It's definitely humid right now. And I'm willing to bet it's going to rain again. Because I saw the forecast and because I see the skies, and I don't care if this mess gets rained on, just so long as I get my tools out of it before then. I think I'm starting to hear maybe the slightest bit of thunder. You know, sounds like it's 10 miles away. I was right, this is a check valve. So give me points for figuring this one out. First I thought it was a fuel filter, but then I realized when I blow through it the one way, turn it over and blow through it the other way, nothing. So that's a check valve. And there's like, I think 3 of them in this device. So when I showed you this, where'd it go? Oh, I think that was just circulating air through it and warming it up. Prying off this little rubber hose. Taking off this. Okay. There we go. Carburetor was bolted to this. I think it was like a sandwich here. This and this. And this was bolted to the engine. I'm sure the next time I take one of these apart, I'll be able to do it twice as fast. There's liable never to be a next time, though. I'm not seeing what I'll have to take off next. I would like to get the piston out. So to get the piston out, you have to get the crankshaft out of the way. To get the crankshaft out of the way, I guess I may have to let me try taking these 2 bolts off on either side of this housing. Be nice if it just lifts off. It was just like a slip connection underneath here. We'll find out. Could have used a bigger workbench. Okay. Now I need the, where's the extension? Oh, there it is. I'm stepping on it. Stinking sandy soil here. You get sand all over everything, so you want to... I didn't have that issue back north. Every place has its pros and cons, but if you start jamming your sockets and stuff together without getting the sand out of it first, that sand can actually act as a grip. Maybe you'll force something on and then you'll have a heck of a time trying to get it apart, because the sand just starts to bind things together. Yeah, it got me thinking when I thought, why are there intake exhaust valves on a 2-cycle? Because usually your piston functions as the, you have a reed valve. Kind of same principle as that little white check valve. Things can go in one way, but not back out the other. It has 2 reed valves inside. They're like, you know, I'd appreciate a like, comment, and a subscribe. And go ahead and check out some of my earlier videos. And I found that some people do like my disassembly videos. So, okay, it's still holding on here. So, what else is holding it together? Well, maybe I can get this whole shaft off by taking this out. That's what's nice about these disassembly videos, you know. I ain't worried about trying to get it back together. I do have a old-timey, you know, Wisconsin gasoline motor with a gearbox on it. It looks like it's from like 1964. And that I would actually like to do a tear down and rebuild. Not just what's inside, but it's been sitting here for a year. I mean, I got it for like $5 at the time, so I don't have any money invested in it, but I still would like to restore something. I mean, I've restored a couple things in my life, but that would be cool. I said I could leave it to my grandson. I'm not sure what he'd do with it. I could turn it into a coffee table. I even got books on the Wisconsin I ordered off of eBay. These are plastic screws here. That doesn't mean the screws are made of plastic, but if you look at the thread, it looks like a real coarse, almost like a drywall screw. Usually means it's being screwed into plastic. Well, happy Mother's Day. It is that time of year for here in 2025. All right, something's coming apart here. All right, I was doing good until the pull cord decided it's hanging on. All right, I guess I'll have to cut the cord. If I had the patience, the cord is knotted through the handle, the pull handle. And if I had the time, and if it was a rebuild or repair, I wouldn't cut it. I'd say, well, let's try and get that knot untied so as not to lose length on the cord. But like I said, this is a just to tear down and see what's inside. There we go. Free at last, free at last. Now, here's what's known as a centrifugal clutch. This device here, the faster it spins, these are like shoes that'll expand. They'll fly out from centrifugal force. And when they fly out from the centrifugal force of the motor running, they'll engage with this housing here. With the walls of this housing, which will spin the shaft, the inner shaft here, which is goes all the way through. So that's how you get engagement. When you're at an idle, you'll notice your tool isn't running. It isn't until you start to accelerate the throttle that the tools start to engage, whether it be a weed whacker head. Some of these, they had chainsaw heads on them, or edger heads. So there's the two-cycle motor. And I see we have reached 1 hour on my filming, so I think that's a good place to stop. If you're disappointed I didn't make it longer, let me know in the comments, because I know some people only watch a video for 10 minutes and move on, so let alone the whole hour. If you stuck out the whole hour with me, let me know. All right, I appreciate your patronage. I'm not one of those guys out there that's making any money off of YouTube yet, but I guess I'm trying to leave a little legacy. Something for my grandkid to watch when Papa's gone. But hey, I appreciate it. I had fun. I'm going to continue on this just the same. I think the rain's coming, so I'm going to put a few tools away, and we're done here. Thank you. Goodbye.